Welcome back. Lesson 29. We're continuing with the scene, setting up the camera and the sound effects. Let's get started. Okay, so we still had just a little more work to do before we finish this scene. And so I've gone ahead and taken the wand back into Krita. And I'm using the tools to add a little thumb to the top bar. And then eventually I'm going to draw in his fingers and make it look a little more realistic than it was. And then finally I'll shape off the top nub so that it goes back at a sharper angle so that I'm able to drop the wand down more in the scene and have it look a little more realistic. And so you can see this is just labor of love as you go through and tweak it to make everything look more real. So I just did this high speed. I figured that you've seen enough of me working with the tools now that I just want you to be able to see the concept of what I'm doing here rather than giving you a step-by-step for everything. So if you don't know how to do what I'm doing here, then just go back a couple lessons and start from there. And we do quite a bit of this work too in lessons 18 and 19. Okay, so we're pretty much about done with this, and we'll bring it on into Cartoon Animator and fit it to John. And I'm going to show you how to do that without having to alter your character, and it'll still maintain all his settings and everything. So I'll just finish this up real quick. Give it a save. Highlight this pressure washing wand. And then what I wanted to do is come in on content and custom and take this brand new one that I made with the fingers and see if we can double click and make it go in and attach itself. Well, it did bring it right in over the top. I want to click on him. Well, look at that. It is attached to him. Both of them are, so it did work. Okay, so then all I need to do here is turn off the one I didn't want to use. And I'm sure the hand settings are going to be messed up, but I just wanted to see if it would bring it in the right position and all that. That's pretty close. All right, so what we're doing then is, I believe it replaced pressure washing wand 2. We're looking for wand 3. Okay. Well, it replaced one of them. Let's turn off wand 2 then. And there's his hands. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the newest one. And I'm going to turn on the oldest one. And dare I delete it now. I'm going to click on top. There it goes. It took a minute. And now it's showing. I don't think it deleted it. Okay, and now we'll turn on this one. Remember, we're using the hand. We took off the hand, and we didn't have to use it anymore. And we can take off the fist as well. We won't have to use it anymore either if we've done this right. So let's turn on the new one now. Okay. All right, we're going to need to zoom in to really see what's going on here. I'm going to move him on over a bit. Yeah, we'll have to redo the water and everything, but all right, so this time I'm going to turn off his hand in the back. All right, so highlight John. Might have to click him over here to get him to undo himself. And then sprite editor. All right, and on his hand, we're going to say none or empty. And he'll still have that little nub on his arm, just like here. Okay, and this could be have been a better nub, but we're going to resize the gun just a little bit once we get out of this mode. Now we're going to adjust him. So we're okay. Whoops, I'm on frame 10. That's not going to work. So I want to keep the angle. So what we need to do here is get back to frame 0. And hit F11 here. And then it looks like I still have the hand sprite on. Yeah. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. We'll just go right to the nub there. And here I'm going to give a tiny little bit of rotation. Maybe move it on there just a little better. I'm hoping that'll do it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Pretty good. There's just little fingers now. Okay, so I have to fix the water. He can bring his elbow down a little more comfortably into this one once I round it off. Okay, cool. I got a game plan. All right, I've done quite a bit of work on this. I've gone ahead and turned the finger lines black instead of kind of a charcoal gray instead of the darker skin color. And I took quite a bit of that, the hand shape off. Here's the old hand underneath, and you can see I've shaved off all of that and created a better looking, a little more form-fitting hand. And then his thumb up here. So, and I cut this nub way back and down. Okay, so I've done the final edits now on this pressure washing wand. And so I'm pretty happy with it. I've got some I turned these black and added the fingers here and shaped everything, then the thumb. And I have this shaped way back now and much shorter. Okay, and I pre-fitted it. This is number 6. So we've just saved it, and we're going to go into Cartoon Animator, and I wanted to show you now how I bring it in. I know I've showed you creating the prop, but let's do it again. Create media, props, and we're going to bring in number 6. Okay, so it comes in up on the screen, and I'm just going to do that. And I want to come into content and just go ahead and save it right away. So I'll close the timeline so I can see the save button. I've got custom open, got this highlighted. I'll click save. And now I've got the props down here, so we're going to go PW wand, and this is 6. Okay, and I'm gonna, oh shoot, I guess we're on to 7 in this, so I'm gonna say it went ahead and just renamed it for me, 6-1, and that's fine. I can live with that. I'm going to right click this one though, but I don't want to delete it yet. But I think it's just in my custom menu. I might as well learn. And hopefully it won't screw up my lesson. But let's just delete the old one. Right now it's in here. Let's not delete it yet. Okay, so I want to show you this trick first, so I don't want to mess up the trick. Alright, so now we can just go ahead and delete this off the screen because we're going to want to bring it in from here. So what we got to do though is click on the other one that we want to replace. You got to make sure it's highlighted. And now we're going to go and click on 6-1. Okay, and I'm going to double click it. And now it automatically brings it in with the size and the settings and everything. And unless the wand has gotten changed horribly out of proportion, then it automatically works. Yeah, look at that. Just like that. We've added a new wand into the system. And so you'll come into scene and you'll see that there's only one pressure washing wand and a pressure washing hose. It's literally deleted the old one and put in the new one. Okay, we didn't have to attach it to his hip or anything. It's already was preset. And so that's how you can bring in a prop instead of, you just have to remember to get it in your custom folder and then bring it in over the top. You can't just create it into the system and expect it to replace it. Okay. So now that we have that done and we're happy, we'll hit save. And my philosophy is to save a new project, but I'm going to stop doing that. I'm just going to save the project. I found out that project files actually do take up a ton of space. So if you create 12 of them, you're going to start really using up your hard drive. So I'm going to save my project more often, but not make save as many times. I'm going to try to cut back. And I also went into my preferences here where it says edit preferences, and I changed it to where I'm only saving 20 go backs 20 times. That's the default setting. I did have it on 30 for quite a while I was learning. And so, okay, so now that we've done all that, talked about all that, I'm going to delete this guy. And it's going to delete his data out of the system and everything. And now all we have is the one that we're using. And we can see that nothing's changed. Okay, so now I'm going to go export this movie. All right, let's see the preview here. All right, yeah, he's got a lot wider mouth now. Okay, anyway, this goes on and on like this for quite a while. Okay, so let's work on the pressure washing hose. I'm going to need to set the timing on it so that it can move. Okay, so in the prop key editor, I already had it set to just stay still. But now what I can do is just add a little bit of movement. make the hose appear that it's moving, and the spring effect in the hose is going to give that secondary motion. So let's go ahead and open up the timeline. And just make it a little bigger here so we can see the elements. So now this is just the pressure washing hose. We'll expand it here so we can see the close-up view of the timeline. Go ahead and move it a couple frames. So I've made this first movement with the pressure washing hose, and so I can go ahead and mess with this just a little and copy it and paste it into the timeline. Try to figure out a timing. So that's what I'll do. I'll just go ahead and paste into the timeline a few times, and then I'll watch it and see how the movement looks. And then ultimately we'll add more into the timeline so that we end up with the effect that we're looking for. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look here. All right, we got a starting motion here. We have more motion on the hose now. Cool. Yeah, we'll just fine tune this a little bit more, and I think it'll look pretty good. Okay, so tweaked around a little bit here with the timing, and not quite as extreme of a setting. It doesn't take much motion to make the hose have a secondary motion. Okay, that's looking a lot better, I think. Yeah, okay. I wanted to show you really quick how easy it is to troubleshoot the timeline. I noticed that somewhere along the line and changing things, you can see the background move. You see that right there? It changes size, and it's right where those transition curves are. So I accidentally got on it and moved it when I was doing something else. So super simple. Come in and just highlight it, because you don't ever want your background really to move unless you actually deliberately did it. So there you go. Now it doesn't have any movement in it. Okay, so that's how you clean up something when you. And then the other thing is that I've been making mini versions of John and lots of changes with him, but I never actually brought him in. So when I looked up here, it just always says John 1, no matter how many times you bring an actor in. But remember that we made custom content, and so I was all the way up to John and Boots and Jacket 9 here. And really, they're very minor changes, but it had to do with all of his facial features and everything. So all I had to do was highlight on John and click double click and it loaded the new actor over the top and gave me a warning that the motions might change, but nothing changed. Everything looks fine, and the puppet clips now have his new mouth movements in that. So I am going to reshoot the movie. I was just going ahead and doing some of the timings now to get the water to turn down when it's supposed to, and just checking for it coming back on again as the sun comes out. So I'm just doing a little of that, fine tuning here. So we'll go back to that, and I'm going to keep working on that until I kind of have it here. We're just doing the final timing on this. Okay, now this is where that transition curve stops, but the movie stops right here. I'm not going to worry about it. And so here we go. The stream starts to get bigger. I would like the stream to start to get bigger just as you start to see those sun rays coming in. So yeah. Um, okay. And then it does travel off a little bit. So we're going to put one more stop in on this. Water jet. And I'm going to F11 to see it. Instead of changing your whole scene around, F11 to go and see a change. That way you're zooming in, but you're not messing with anything else. So I'm going to double check these settings with F11 and just fine tune here last time before I render this movie. Pretty happy with the settings. Whoops, I accidentally clicked another thing here. So let's get back on the water pipe. I want to double check this one again. Okay, I think we're really got it this time, I think, now. So I'm going to take this step off, and it will just go to there and stop. It still seems like it's off a little bit to me. F11 that. This is a detail that I really want it to look right. So, okay, so now let's play between that and the other and see. Okay, and wish you could scroll the timeline from this view, even in the most minor way. There doesn't seem to be. I'm going to try home though and see if it'll start it from the beginning at least. There we go. All right, now I'm really seeing that water flow going to nothing when it's supposed to. It wasn't changing until the cloud was practically flying away. And by that time, you miss the whole point. Okay. And it looks like I'm outside of the scene here on the stage, so have to check that. Right, there comes the sun rays. Now this is probably not even playing for you because render's weird. All you see is glitches. Okay, I'm going to call that good and render it. I'm going to escape here and go to frame 0 and hit save. And now we have the new John in with the new mouth and all the new pieces. The hose moves constantly now, and I think that's the only other thing I remember having when I first started, but it was kind of getting in my way, so I took it off for a while. But let's go here to props, and you got to go out of custom, everything that comes with Cartoon Animators under template. So we'll click on props again. I'm just going to type like black or mask. Let's try mask and see. It was this one here, dark corner. Why is there colors? All right, so I'll make sure I'm on frame 0 when I bring it in, and then I'll bring it in. This one I kind of liked it to darken around all of the edges, so I'm not making it super tight, and enough that it kind of shadows the area a little more. Okay, so now that it's in, I'm going to go ahead on frame 0 and just turn off the visibility on it. And there, now you just see a little box representing that there I am. And one good way to check the perspective of it is right now is to just make sure you got the little cross sign going on, and then I'm going to roll the mouse away from me. And mostly I'm just doing this to see if it'll ever disappear behind anything. And it doesn't appear to. It's definitely sitting on top. Now it might be because it's in the layers that way. But let's just say that here we are. We have this layer in here. I'm going to make it visible the whole time, and I'm going to turn the opacity to 0 so it's not on that way. And then I'm going to scroll the timeline, and we're going to go to dead dark. Okay, by here we're going to be dead dark. So this is where I want it at 100%. And that way it can grow in intensity. Now, it grows too fast for my liking, so this is where I'll come in on the transform key and the motion key. Let's see, we'll find which one we're not doing. We're only working with opacity. So let's just do that. And so let's say it's at 100% here, and let's just go ahead and make this one 0 as well. And then we'll come into this dark zone, and now we'll make another one by just simply turning the opacity on, and you'll see a little transform key turn on right there, and I'll set it at 100. Okay, so what I'm doing is keeping this one. If you just keep watching up here, when I click on it, there's 0. I can decide how long I would like it to be bright out, completely bright out, before any mask would even think about coming into play. Okay, so that would be that I'd like it to stay bright till, and you can see the other mask coming into play, but this one's going to be more extreme. You get your first flash of lightning, comes in, It could maybe come in sooner, but it starts to come in right there. And since it's coming in at 0, it can certainly come in sooner. So here we go. So it'll start to darken for the first little bit here and make it to 100% by there. All right, so it's going to stay at 100. Through the storm. So here's where it first starts to thin. So let's say that we're going to go ahead and just make a change. That way it made 100. And now from here it's going to go down to bright. Okay, and it's just a matter of how fast. So we'll scroll out to about where we're thinking that mask will disappear off, and we'll just do this back to 0. And now we'll look at that transition from 100 to 0 and see if that's quick enough that it's last. Okay, that's really going to do a lot for getting that day a lot darker. Okay, so it disappears completely. Still have a little background mask, almost going away completely. There's your sun rays. Okay, so let's call that good for now, and we'll save our project. And now you know how I got a free mask from Cartoon Animator. These all come with it, so you have plenty of things that you can plenty of tools you can use to animate with. I was surprised how much stuff. And just like with my character, I bought this guy, and then I've made with just this guy, I've made 2 other characters, and then but I could make as many as I want, all different shapes and sizes. But I have made characters out of this, but the characters that come with Cartoon Animator, you can convert them into your own characters. You can take them and alter their faces and stuff like that, and then you can take them in, just like I showed you, and make clothes. And next thing you know, you have a fully functioning, working character. Because it was created by the people who created Cartoon Animator, so everything works, all its body parts work, and all you got to do is make them yours. So that's the easiest way without learning the science of naming all the folders and starting from scratch and having a $400 Illustrator program and a $300 Photoshop program. You can do it all with Krita. You can do it for free, and so uh, the only thing you'd have to buy eventually is the Cartoon Animator, which is usually on sale. It's around $100, 100 to 150. Okay, I'm here in Krita, and I have a paint layer, but I need a vector layer, so oops, I just hit this little down arrow, and I'll add a vector layer, and then I'll just go ahead and here, let's just delete one at a time, and then I'm going to unlock that and just throw it away. And all I have now is a vector layer to work with. I'm going to create the hose now. We made a pressure washing hose, but I need to make a quick hose. So this won't take very long. We use the Bezier curve tool. All right, so it's going to just hide behind the machine. And so I'm going to go right here and kind of look at these squares, and um, it'll be behind the machine, hidden, and then it'll just come down to the ground. And then it'll go somewhere over to like the building. So we'll just make it whatever length we want, and it'll be easy to change. So I'll just double click here, and we'll call this good. We'll go ahead and hit the select tool now so that we can select it, and we're already selected here. And the easiest way now, just go right over here to this, and we can make it a line or a fill. So if we come in and just say that the line is 1 pixel or a couple pixels. We're going to go just a shade off black with this one. And so I think I'll just go pitch black. And let's go, it's a water hose. So let's go like that. And take it now. We'll save it. And let's just call this water hose. It'd be easier to remember down the road here. Water hose. Go. Okay. Okay, yeah, it went in. And then we'll also save it as a PNG with the same name. Okay, so now we'll hit Cartoon Animator up and let's bring it in, create media props, and in comes the water hose. So let's do a horizontal flip and take a look. I think I can just make this work. I just want it to go out of the scene, look like it's hooked up to the car. Yeah, just like that. I think that would work. I'm going to fatten it a little more. Have it kind of look like it's hooking up right there. There, it's got the curvy effect like a water hose. Cool. I like it. And it needs to be fatter than the pressure washing hose, which it is. Let's go to the bone editor really quick. We'll see how fast we can do this. So we'll highlight it and we're going to go to the bone editor and open it and we'll add a bone and we'll just start at the first mark. And I'm certainly not going to add a lot of bones to this one like I did the other one. Don't expect to move it around, but I can this way. All right, so, and I'll just right click and end it. And now it just made all of those in a layer. We'll close that and we'll go to the spring editor next. Okay, so let's not forget one step here. Let's take this bone and highlight it, and we're going to assign it to the group. Okay, so now they're all in a group, and now they're going to, we'll choose our preset. And now do the preview, and I think we'll see our result. It's a pretty stiff movement. And we'll come back here to stage mode. And it's already in position. And so let's click on it again and go into this prop key editor. And you remember we're going to move that X. So we're on frame 0 and we'll go. So this was really super sensitive. So I'm going to go like 1. Okay, first off, let's move ahead before we do anything. Let's move ahead to, he starts the water and we'll start the movement on the hose as well there. But let's just go 183, just the tiniest up in value. And I'm going to move ahead 4 frames and I'm going to say something. Let's just do that tiny fraction of a movement. Get it back to where it was at 182.7. 4 more frames and I'll go back to 183. Okay, so now we're going to isolate, make sure that we just have the water hose, which we do. We'll close the prop key editor and we can blow this timeline up so that we can really see the keys that we just created. Okay, so all of the default keys are just there, so don't mess with those. We'll grab the 3 that we just changed the values on, and I'm highlighted it, Control C, and then I'm going to go 4 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just go Control V, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, it doesn't have to be exact. You can just pop them on in there. Okay, so now let's highlight these. And I'll Control C and Control V and Control V. All right, and let's take a quick look now that we have a few of them in there and see the hose. Yeah, you see the hose is making just the teeniest movement. That's cool. All right, I like that. So I thought I saw the hose poke out of the scene somewhere too. Might have been my imagination, but probably not. That I think we're fine. Okay, so that's the routine. Then what you want to do is zoom out, not so far that you can't still see that end point. Or you could just stay away from the first one, but you might as well grab Control C. And I prefer to zoom in when I do this, so I have a good idea where I'm going key-wise. All right, even if it's a little more time consuming, I like to do it this way better. Okay, but I could maybe minus it and get more accomplished faster. Right, and we're almost there. And we'll have water movement in the hose now. All right, there it is. There's the end of it. Okay, so we've gone past our timeline now, so we're cool. And I'm going to come up here and save this. And I'm just going to, I think I'll just render this movie now. I'd like to F11 and make sure the hose isn't popping through somewhere like I thought maybe it might have been. Okay, this is the end of the scene right here, so you'll never see the wall where it goes through. So I did a quick preview, and now where the hose hardly even looked like it was moving, here you can really see it's going to town. So let's go ahead now. It's a pretty easy fix. I already have the tiny timing in here, so the easiest way to approach this one, the spring editor. There we go. And we're going to have to get back to frame 0, so let's do that quickly. There we go. So we're at frame 0, and we have a default of bounciness of 8, and we were on rubbery, and I think that we're going to just go on back to the same thing as the other hose setting, and hopefully it'll just move less. That would be fine. So we also have speed and gravity too, so it's just going to move less. Okay. And for speed, let me see if I can turn the speed down to 50 and see what. It's going to be ever so slight. Let's go ahead and export that one and um, see how that does. I'm going to save it, and then I'll tune out here and come right back. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Just a slight movement in the water hose. Okay, I found a or a buzzing sound. So let's see if we can put that in. Create script, create sound, and let's say background music. And then you just get the music file, which I brought in through downloads from Pixabay Sounds. Here's one that I found. I think I like this last one the best, so I'm going to just select it. So for this one, you need to get to the project. Okay. And now we'll come up here to that project folder here. That's all these bars. And we went for music. Okay, so let's okay, and we'll cut it. I'm going to right click and it jumped one frame, so right click and I'll break the clip right there and I'll drag it to somewhere where I think it's gonna water will start. Let's see where. So just past this diamond. When his water goes off, so does his bubbles below, even though they're out of the timeline. Okay, they're off till. Okay, so let's look at bubbles. And we'll keep that project folder open. And here in bubbles, here's the visibility key. So it's pretty simple to adjust. You can even see where the music starts. That's where the water will start. The bubbles rise up into the scene, but at least they'll become visible as they come back in. Okay, and then the buzzing would start to get weaker if I can. All we need to do is fade out. Now it might start fading though at 50%. Oh, that could be okay. And now this one's going to have an in and an out as well. Yeah, well, so we'll go ahead and take the transform keys out between the buzzing sounds. here and here. Yeah, this is going to allow me to shut off the movement of the hoses when the water it turns off during the scene. Okay, and the water hose. Okay, and up ahead here, I go ahead and add other sound effects and things that I found. Okay, we'll jump on over here, Pixabay, sound effects, and lightning and thunder, and you can just click on these. And all right. Anyway, I don't know if I'll want to use any of those, but this is what I can play with 3 different timelines to work with here in Cartoon Animator to put different sound effects in and have a music track. So I would take these off and move them up a line so that I could, I pretty much have this all switched around, but I guess it can show you that it doesn't have to say music to be a sound effect. So, all right, that's it on that part. I'm going to dial on that for a while. Okay, I was able to play with the sound clips and the lightning and the different things and put them all together. And so here's where we're at so far with this mock-up clip. Here we go. All right, that's it so far. We'll keep working on this. So now that we have a decent mock-up, we'll go back into Cartoon Animator and we can start working on the camera. I like to get the scene at least to about this point, and then I can start coming in and doing all the different camera angles and moves. And it's a lot easier at that point because I'm already synchronized to the music and everything. And so it's kind of like creating my B-roll. So we'll move on to that next. If I come back to frame 0, I'm just going to leave the default camera alone. At least for now. So preview is where you'll keep going back to in order to change your camera perspective. So this is going to start changing a lot. I'm going to make the camera, first default camera, look as much like this view as I can. So on frame 0, that's where I get an opportunity to do such a thing. Go ahead and spin the wheel here and move things around in a way that. So then from there on, I can just do whatever I want with the camera. The switch key is only when I'm ready to start putting the different cameras into an order, and I want to set up a sequence of cameras and then roll that video switching from camera view to camera view. Then that's where the switch comes in. We'll work with that in a little bit. Let's just hit camera 0 now. Okay, so typically something like this isn't going to look realistic with this hose. And that's going to be more of catching just a different perspective of him or the hose itself like this and getting it more real. It's still a nice close-up view. Okay, I'm going to use this view to get expressions. F11 that. This is what we're seeing on TV. So it's still a nice enough view, I think. Pretty blown up. Okay. So those two are set. So if I want to make any more cameras, then I have to go to preview and start working on some of the other types of details that we talked about. Um, in order to just go full screen on John, he's going to be a giant in the city, and that's got to make it look real here. Could be good. Get some of the finger artwork, though, is like he's too big. Take him down a little bit here. How about that? Okay, and then if you click this one, you can just work in the camera editor, and that's a little easier to switch back and forth and probably to see this, but I like to work with it both ways. I don't want to get too glued to a method. And so here I'll just add this camera now that I'm switching from preview to camera one. Okay, I can call it whatever I want, but I'm not going to. This is where I would set the camera key if I wanted to start, say, at that frame. Um, so there we go. I just set the camera. I'm not going to do any of this right now. Not yet. Okay, so now I can get as much or as little of this as I want on camera one. So let's just play with this setting for just a second here. Here he is, and really rapidly in the scene. And I'm probably going to have to turn sound effects off or it's going to drive us all out of here. But let's just go for just the first couple seconds of this, and I'll make the timeline much zoomed out so that we don't take too many frames. So in 20 frames, I'm going to want to go from this view here to rolling out now. And then I'm going to come down here and click on camera and come down to camera one, which is what we're on right now. And cameras only have 3 keys, but you'll see that when I finally made my decision where I wanted to stop have the frame be, it automatically made that little keyframe. Anytime I'm on that keyframe, I can adjust this frame around. So what I've got now is my first camera move of him going from this to this. And then if I don't like that positioning, I just change it. Okay. And then maybe that goes to just a few more frames before it now comes into the normal view. And so from here, it's already knows the position. We're ahead in the timeline. Now if I reposition this again, as long as I've got the red thing up there, I'm safe to just keep moving around. only need a couple camera moves with this scene. It's got its own fun stuff. Just seeing the scene. Most of it's seeing his facial expressions, which is that camera that we just gathered. So we'll play with that here really quick. So this would now go like this. Okay, and I don't like the position of the hose still. Bubbles are a little high, that's why I've got them down lower. And we'll scooch this down. Too much, maybe. I can change this position a little bit if I want to, but right now I'm going to pull away a little bit more and come up. Perhaps that's where yeah. Okay, let's try seeing that now. That looks pretty good. The bubbles are still a little low, so the hose, I may move the hose there. I can't seem to like it, but let's work with this for now. I think that would be fine. All right. Sometimes you lose the timeline and just hit that. And now it's just showing you the whole thing at once. And I'm going to come in here now. And we're going to go to camera 0, but we're also going to set the camera switch key there. So let's go ahead now that we've done this, set the camera switch key twice. Let's go into the project because that's where you can see the camera switcher. So not only are the sound clips in this one, which I'm now going to turn off, using those right now. This is where you find the camera. And this is the switcher. Okay, and that's the only part of the camera that is in the project folder is the switcher. Okay, and only when you're on switch and exporting the movie out are you going to see the switcher in your movie. So this is just one form of a way you can export a movie having several cameras down the timeline. Okay, so now what we've done is we've switched in the switcher, we've started out with, if you just hover over it, we've started out with camera 1, if you remember. So that's the first frame of the movie, camera 1. And then we go to camera 0, which is the close-up view that we created. Okay. So this is where the sound is coming in, I believe. Okay. So you're probably wondering, why are we watching camera 0 movie then? Because we're not on switcher. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to click in the timeline here and we're going to click on switch. And now it's going to play this. And then it's just a matter of deciding how long you want to draw that out. And we'll just keep working with this for a bit. Okay, so as much as I'd like to have close on the view, I also have a lightning effect happening there. But I do like that he's... What? Okay, so let's see if we can... We don't have very many cameras created, but let's just see if we can go to the default camera. And set the camera switch key. You'll see the little diamond appear. And then back to switch so that we can watch what we did. There's this first little piece of this camera work. And it's not a really long clip here, so I'll end up changing it, I'm sure. Even if I teach this and show it, I'll always go back and re-edit and do everything. So anyway, yeah, I'll run the details so many times that I think it would ruin any video if I just continued to mash over this too much. So I'm gonna just kind of move through it and get a general basic idea here and call it good. Okay, so one of the effects that tend to miss too, it goes into the close-up here, is he looks up and it's all about his facial expressions, and I'm not able to portray the fact that the water is disappearing right there, and the sound of his motor goes out at the same time. There's so much going on with the storm, I ended up drowning out kind of that effect. So I'm going to try to figure out also a way to draw attention to the fact that his water has died. I'm in close up, and I guess if you watched it enough times, you'd see it. And one of the drawbacks too is that I have clouds way high and I have him down low, so I'm really splitting the scene. And so there's stuff happening up in the sky. So it's kind of been more of a challenge to keep the scene wide open, but it takes away some of the close-up opportunities unless I'm sneaky about it. So that's what I'm thinking, is finding a way to show his water end. And also, originally the concept was to make his water trickle off into the teeniest little stream, and I haven't worked that detail out yet. It's going to take quite a bit of time and patience to curve it and have it shrink down even more. With all of the action happening in the sky, I don't think anybody's seeing the water. sound. I don't know. I'll have to think about that part of it. Okay, so right here I'm going to add a camera and set the camera switch key. And let's see what happens when we go and watch it in switch mode. Okay, so maybe if that'll happen sooner. Now you see it. Okay, I can live with that. I can move this down too for the scene, or bring it down just a hair. It'll be fine. Like that. All of his final expressions. Alright, so I need to land on the key. Let's check that. Yeah. Okay, so you have the switcher, and then you have to go down to these cameras if you're. So the best thing to do is to see that camera 1, and then you look and make sure you got camera 1 open. And when it switches to camera 0, if there's something you want to change. So here I'm really going super fast, okay? And that's because this transition's super fast right here. So let's look at it on a larger timeline. We didn't give it very much time. And so let's give it a little more breathing room. And then so sometimes it's best to just take out part of it and then get there in a straight way. So even though my concept was to kind of chop it down, I honestly think I like this version better. Long ways to travel. It'll look better when it's rendered because it's, I think it plays smoother all around. Making this a little faster too. Seems to be the speed I like. Let's see that again here. I'm going to F11 and look at it more. And then remember that nothing outside of the red border shows. So. It's out of the scene at the beginning. Okay, so I noticed I was out of the scene at the beginning. Okay, I got the camera over just a hair too far. Make sure you got the red thing highlighted. And I really don't want to move down at all. I just want to come over a teeny smidge, and hopefully those will still be on the wall. Yeah, a little more. You're taking its time coming over. All right. Okay, so I know your view of it is probably not seeing it moving. That's been what's happening when I think you're viewing it all and you're just seeing a fixed image or something because it's not rendered. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to watch it as a rendered clip because it also plays better and I can see the timing and judge from there where I need to go next. So I am going to keep it on switch this time as I export it, but first we'll save. And this is the camera one, so we'll just work with that for right now. And it doesn't mean that it's on camera one. It just means this is the first time I'm doing camera work. So it'll just keep going C1, C2 as I build on these camera works. So, all right, we're on switch. We'll render it. And I'm going to turn off screen recorder for this part and be right back. Hey, thanks for watching. Come on back. We'll be working on lots more cool stuff. See you soon.